okay. Y'all didn't tell me when I wear these glasses I look weird. I'm going to try to do this without my peepers. All right, types of law. This is part 2. Did you watch part 1? Did you take good notes? So when you get to the activity at the end of this is information that's going to go on part 2. So pay attention, write down all that good stuff that's got the highlighting and everything. So this is pretty easy. Types of law. Look how low-tech my PowerPoint is. It's embarrassing. All right, types of law. We've got civil law. So get that in your notes and highlight it. The short definition that you're going to reword in your notes: laws concerning disputes between people or groups of people, hence civil. This also could include disputes between the government and its citizens, okay? Seventh Amendment is what you got to remember about civil law. When we did the Bill of Rights, everybody remembers the Sixth. The Sixth is you have a right to a lawyer, you have a right to a jury. All of those same rights apply in civil cases. I think over $20 is what the Constitution says, which who knows what that would be today. So Seventh Amendment, civil cases, that's where you have rights, is what the Seventh Amendment is. So here's some types, okay? So you can kind of get more examples. Everything is learning by examples in this class. So can involve a breach of contract in which a plaintiff argues that the defendant violated a written or oral agreement. Have you ever watched the Judge Judy? Most of these are civil cases. I guess all of these are civil cases. So if you have a contract with somebody, written or verbal, because oral agreements hold up in most states, and that contract is violated and you want to take them to court over that, that is a civil case. Property disputes. Your dog chewed up somebody's handbag and you want to sue for that. Yes, that is a civil case. Can also involve family matters. So we think of divorce court, child custody, all of that stuff. That also happens in civil cases, okay, and civil court. Family law is a whole section that goes with this, but it all falls under that big umbrella of civil. Can also involve negligence. For example, a teacher confiscates your phone from you at school because you were using it without permission, and something happens to it. It gets stolen. Was she negligent? She was not. We can get into that on another day. But that would be something like negligence, is I think somebody woefully disregarded my property in some way. Personal injury, they call this tort. I want to highlight tort because I know that's got to be a new vocab word for you. T-O-R-T, that's personal injury law. These guys have a bad reputation, these lawyers, probably somewhat unfounded, but so if you ever meet a lawyer and they say, I do tort law, that's what they're doing, personal injury type things. You've probably seen ads on TV, right? Did you get in an accident and your back is whatever? Well, call us. That's personal injury. Or the example there, you slip and fall on ice in your neighbor's driveway. If you're injured, you can sue him for damages in a lawsuit, believe it or not. Tort law. Civil, by the way, a lot of kids ask me this. Can I sue somebody for something, something, something? When it comes to civil law, you can pretty much sue anybody for anything you want. You're going to have to pay for a lawyer or do the case yourself. And in many instances, even if you win, you may not get money back. What if you sue somebody because your best friend, because she borrowed your iPhone and was negligent with it, but she didn't have any money? Well, you might win that case in court, but guess what? She didn't have any money. She ain't going to pay up. How do you get that money paid? Well, you have to take it back to court. So there's a lot of reasons a lot of things don't end up in civil court. Criminal law. This is number 2 under types of law. This one you're probably way more familiar with. We do more parts of this unit on both civil and criminal. But at a basic level, laws that seek to prevent people from deliberately or recklessly harming others and their property. When these are codified into our legal system, this is criminal law, okay? How do we enforce criminal law? That's the cops. In some cases, maybe FBI or things like that. State Bureau of Investigations. These are all various things we'll talk about on another day. And then there's penalties imposed by criminal courts. Some of those penalties are money, but the vast majority of our penalties in criminal courts are going to be through jail time and stuff like that. Who decides what constitutes a crime? Well, it's different at all levels. So at the national level, Congress makes those decisions, okay? State level, state law legislatures, that's your general assemblies. And at the local level, city councils and county commissioners. So, think of an example of some sort of crime that was committed, and then you can see, is that a national violation of a federal law, state law, or a local level, okay? Spitting on the sidewalk, that's a local city ordinance, technically, that you might be violating, okay? Speeding on an interstate highway, That's going to be something at the state level. Murders, this doesn't necessarily have to do with just how harsh a crime is. Murders are, most of the time, they're still going to be tried in state court. There's some exceptions to that. Taking a victim across state lines or kidnapping or something like that, those would be more like federal crimes. But for the most part, most criminal things, when in doubt, go with state courts is where a lot of these things end up. Some examples here, probably more highlighting needed. We've got felonies. These are going to be things like murder, rape, kidnapping, the serious stuff. And then misdemeanors, if you've heard of this in either of these in your movies. Vandalism, stealing inexpensive items, smoking weed, only in states where it's not legal. These would be misdemeanor type crimes. Drug trafficking, you're back to felonies, obviously. So now more types of law. This is 3, 4, and 5, okay? And they're pretty short and sweet, so I've got them all on the same slide. Constitutional law, these are things that deal with rights and freedoms and violations thereof. We'll study several things that fell under constitutional law. A lot of people like to think of these as like civil rights cases. So if I feel like somebody feels like they were discriminated against, oh, this actually happened. There was a homosexual couple and they got married and they wanted a cake to be baked for them by a company that baked wedding cakes. And that person said, I'm not going to bake you a wedding cake because I don't think you should be getting married because you're gay. Well, they say, hey, that deals with our rights and freedom. And so that goes to, or constitutional lawyers, I guess I should say, are the ones that deal with that. That case actually made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. In that case, the homosexual couple lost in that case. If you're interested on that, look it up. Sometimes known as the cake baker case. Or maybe we'll talk about it on another day. Administrative law. This one is kind of weird and tricky, so let me try to explain it a little clearer. Now, the definition says all laws of the rules and regulations that the executive branch of government must make to carry out its job. Think of things, remember, we know this by now. The executive branch enforces the laws. So administrative law is sort of any type of law that these executive branch government agencies have had to create to enforce. EPA, for example, the Environmental Protection Agency, that's an executive branch agency. The EPA has laws that factories, they can't pollute X amount, or they have to dispose of waste in a certain way. If they're in violation of that, that's really where this kind of goes under the umbrella of administrative law. Okay, some of those things could end up in civil court, but the administrative law is like the making of these type of things. The ICE, remember we watched the video on ICE, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. All of the laws that are created for ICE to be able to carry out their duties, this falls under what's known as administrative law. So think executive branch, okay? Statutory law, kind of similar to that, but statutory law is going to be laws established by local governments, this is city or counties. Codes, ordinances, or statutes are sort of legal names for city laws for citizens at the local level. So think of some sort of law we have to follow, like for the city of Raleigh. Think of something in your head, because I can't think of something off the top of my head. You can think of something. Shoot me a message. and I can add it to this. So anyways, those things would be statutory laws. Basically, again, established by local governments to either control the citizens or protect the citizens in some case like that. All right, and then last one is international law. International law, laws that affect the United States and other nations, or it just could be two other nations, really. An example here is Canada and the U.S. are in a dispute over fishing rights in the territorial waters of either nation. How do you know this is international law? Well, you know this because you have a couple of countries, and a lot of times when you see the skies, the oceans, this is going to be where you see a lot of international law. So look, at a basic level, know those. International law, administrative, statutory, constitutional, criminal, civil, and then a few of these bullet points that we had under this as well. We are going to stop here for now, and you are going to go complete the, I'm adding to this, the roots of law and types of law little review sheet that you have. That is going to get turned in, and it's going to show me that you listened to this lecture and you have processed and you understood all of that. We're going to call this the Google Doc. All right. I hope you guys understood, again, you can always go and enhance your knowledge by looking up some of these elsewhere if you aren't happy with Miss Thrower speak. All right, you guys, go do that assignment. Get it submitted by the deadline.